My name is Captain Elias Ward, and everything you know about humanity is a lie. The Galactic Federation teaches every child the same story. They say Earth destroyed itself 1,000 years ago. They say humans were too violent, too divided, too dangerous to survive among the stars. They say the last human warship disappeared centuries before the modern age began. Every history book repeats the same words. Humanity is extinct. The galaxy believes that story because the galaxy has never seen what happens when humans decide to disappear on purpose. I know the truth because I was there on the day the silence ended. It began with a signal. Our reconnaissance cruiser, the TRS Resolute, was crossing the Perseus Expanse, a region so empty that even pirates refused to enter it. There were no colonies, no trade routes, no stars worth mining. Just endless darkness stretching across. Light years of forgotten space. It should have been another routine patrol. Then the communications officer slowly removed his headset. His face had turned pale. Captain, I'm receiving a distress beacon. I looked up from the navigation display. Identify the source. I can't. What do you mean you can't? The signal isn't registered in any Federation database. Commander Nathan Vale leaned over the officer's console. Play it. Static filled the bridge. For several seconds there was nothing but crackling interference. Then a calm human voice echoed through every speaker. This is Earth Defense Command. If any Terran vessel receives this message, humanity still lives. Return home. The recording ended. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Earth. The word itself had become forbidden. Centuries ago. The Federation had erased every official record of our homeworld. Speaking its name in public was enough to attract government attention. Most people believed Earth had never existed. Others believed it had become a myth. But every human carried the name deep inside their heart, even if they had never seen the blue planet. Commander Vale finally broke the silence. Captain, that recording has to be fake. The communications officer shook his head. I've checked it 7 times. The signal is authentic. How old is it? The officer swallowed. Approximately 987 years. A chill ran through the bridge. No emergency beacon could survive that long. Not unless someone wanted it to. I walked toward the main display. A single point of light blinked against a holographic star. Map. Sector null-9. An erased region. Officially. Nothing existed there. Unofficially. Every captain in the fleet had been warned to stay away from it without ever being told why. I looked at my officers. Prepare for hyperspace jump. Commander Vale stared at me. You can't be serious. We have a human distress signal. It's almost 1,000 years old. It's still human. The Federation will court-martial us if we enter an erased sector. I smiled. Only if they catch us. The engines came alive beneath our feet. Blue light flooded the bridge. Our cruiser turned toward the darkest region of known space. As the countdown reached 0, the stars stretched into endless lines. Moments. Later, we crossed the invisible border surrounding Sector null-9. Everything changed. The stars looked different. The darkness felt heavier. Our sensor arrays immediately began reporting impossible readings. Captain, gravitational fluctuations increasing. Quantum interference detected. Navigation satellites offline. Long-range scanners malfunctioning. It was as if the universe itself wanted this place to Remain hidden. Then every warning alarm suddenly stopped. The silence was almost frightening. The tactical officer whispered, "I have visual contact." The forward screen brightened. At first, I thought I was looking at an asteroid field. Then the objects moved. Ships. Thousands of them. They stretched across space farther than our sensors could measure. Some were larger than cities. Others carried weapons powerful enough to split moons apart. Every vessel was painted black with silver markings that no modern navy had used for nearly 1,000 years. Ancient. Human. Perfectly preserved. Waiting. No one aboard the Resolute said a single word. We simply stared. Humanity had never disappeared. Humanity had been preparing. A warning tone echoed across the bridge. Every unknown vessel had changed course. Every one of them was now facing us. Thousands of warships rotated in perfect synchronization without a single command being transmitted across open channels. The maneuver was flawless. Silent. Precise. Terrifying. The tactical officer's voice trembled. "Captain, every weapon system on those ships is active." Commander Vale slowly exhaled. "If they decide we're hostile, we won't survive the next 5 seconds." I never took my eyes off the fleet. Hold position. The bridge remained silent. Then a transmission appeared on every console at the same time. No encryption. No radio frequency. No detectable source. It simply existed. A calm female voice spoke. "Identify yourselves." I stepped toward the communications console. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Terran reconnaissance cruiser Resolute. We received your distress beacon." Several seconds passed. Then the mysterious voice answered. "Bloodline verification initiated." Every light inside the ship flickered. A thin blue beam swept across each member of my crew. The medical officer looked around in confusion. "I'm detecting a full genetic scan." The scan ended. Another pause. Then the voice returned. "Verification complete. Welcome home, Captain Ward." At that exact moment, every weapon aimed at us powered down. The enormous fleet slowly separated into 2 perfect lines, creating a corridor that stretched toward the distant blue planet at its center. Earth. For centuries, billions had believed it was gone. Now it stood before us. Alive. Untouched. Beautiful. White clouds drifted above deep blue oceans. Golden city lights covered entire continents. Massive orbital rings surrounded the planet, like shining crowns. It looked less like a world and more like the capital of an empire. One colossal warship detached from the formation. It dwarfed every vessel I had ever seen. Its black armor reflected almost no light. Across its hull stretched a silver phoenix rising from a blue planet. "Commander." Vale stared in disbelief. "I know that emblem." "So do I." The symbol belonged to the old Terran Empire. It had disappeared from history nearly 1,000 years ago. The giant vessel stopped directly in front of us. A docking corridor extended from its side. The mysterious voice spoke again. "Permission granted to board the flagship." I looked around the bridge. Some faces showed excitement. Others showed fear. Mine probably showed both. "I'll be taking Commander Vale and Lieutenant Carter." The tactical officer frowned. "Captain, this could be a trap." Nodded. "It could. But if humanity has survived all this time, we deserve to know why." Minutes later, the airlock doors opened. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No machinery. No footsteps. No mechanical noise. Only the soft sound of circulating air. The corridor ahead gleamed with polished metal, unlike anything produced in modern shipyards. The walls were decorated with symbols from humanity's earliest interstellar era, not preserved as museum pieces, still in active service. We walked forward slowly. Then they appeared, human soldiers, dozens of them standing perfectly still on both sides of the corridor. Their armor was black with silver edges. No exposed joints. No visible weapons. Yet every instinct told me they were the most dangerous soldiers I had ever seen. Not one of them moved. Not one of them even blinked. As we reached the end of the corridor, a single woman stepped forward. She appeared to be in her early 40s. Her dark uniform carried a rank I had only seen in forgotten military records: Fleet Admiral. She stopped a few meters away. For several seconds she simply looked at us. Almost as if she had waited her entire life for this moment. Then she smiled. Hey. Tired smile. A hopeful smile. My name is Admiral Helena Reyes. Her voice was calm, warm, completely human. For 987 years, she paused. We have been waiting for someone to answer that beacon. None of us knew what to say. The Admiral looked past us toward the stars outside the observation window. We never believed humanity had forgotten us. She looked back into my eyes. We only feared humanity had forgotten who it was. Admiral Reyes turned without another word. Come with me. We followed her through corridors that looked as if they had been built yesterday, instead of nearly 1,000 years ago. Everything was immaculate. Every system operated in complete silence. Every crew member moved with calm discipline. No one hurried. No one spoke unnecessarily. It didn't feel like an old fleet. It felt like a civilization that had spent centuries perfecting itself. We entered a massive observation chamber overlooking Earth. For a long moment, no one spoke. The planet filled the entire window. Blue oceans shimmered. Beneath drifting clouds. Green continents stretched farther than the eye could see. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Admiral Reyes touched a control panel. The image changed. The oceans became transparent. Gigantic shipyards appeared beneath the surface. Entire fleets were hidden below the water. Mountain ranges opened like enormous doors, revealing underground factories stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Orbital defense platforms materialized around the planet. Thousands, then tens of thousands. Finally, hundreds of thousands. Every defense system had remained hidden behind advanced cloaking technology. Commander Vale whispered, almost to himself. My God. The Admiral nodded. Earth never stopped preparing. I turned toward her. If all of this existed, why stay hidden? Her expression changed. The warmth disappeared. Only sorrow remained. Because trusting the galaxy almost destroyed our species. She activated another hologram. A vast council chamber appeared. Hundreds of alien representatives sat around a circular hall. Human diplomats stood proudly beside them. The recording looked ancient. The Federation called it the Age of Unity, the Admiral said quietly. We called it the beginning of the end. The meeting continued peacefully. Then, without warning, explosions ripped through the chamber. Fire consumed the room. The blast threw human Delegates across the floor. Security forces rushed toward the exits. More explosions followed. The recording ended. Commander Vale looked confused. The council bombing. The admiral nodded. What does modern history say happened? I answered automatically. Human extremists attacked the council after peace negotiations collapsed. She looked directly at me. That is the greatest lie ever written. Another recording replaced the first. This one showed a secure military conference. Several senior Federation officials stood around a holographic map of Earth. One alien pressed a glowing authorization panel. Across the screen appeared 3 words. Operation Final Eclipse. Below them. Another line appeared. Primary objective. Eliminate humanity. I felt my stomach tighten. The bombing was never our attack, the admiral said. It was the excuse they needed. The hologram zoomed outward. Thousands of Federation warships surrounded the Sol system. Planetary invasion routes appeared one after another. The operation had been planned years before the bombing ever happened. They feared humanity's scientific growth. Another image appeared. They feared our military. Another. They feared our independence. Finally, the hologram displayed a single sentence taken from classified Federation records. Humanity cannot be controlled. Humanity must be erased. Silence filled the room. Every lesson I had ever learned. Every history class. Every official document. Every museum. Every memorial. All of it had been built on a lie. I slowly looked back toward Earth. So the Federation believed they destroyed you. The Admiral smiled faintly. We allowed them to believe it. How? She touched the control panel again. The stars around Earth disappeared. The entire solar system faded from view. Only darkness remained. A quantum veil. She looked at us. The greatest engineering project in human history. The Federation invaded empty space. They celebrated a victory that never happened. And while the galaxy forgot humanity, she pointed toward the countless hidden shipyards surrounding Earth. Humanity remembered itself. Before anyone could speak again, red warning lights flashed across the chamber. A calm computerized voice echoed through the flagship. Alert. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. Unknown fleet entering the outer perimeter. Another officer rushed into the room. Admiral, long-range sensors confirm 300 Federation warships approaching the Veil. The room became completely silent. Admiral Reyes closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them again, every trace of sadness had disappeared. Only determination remained. It seems, she said calmly, the galaxy has finally found us. The bridge transformed in an instant. Calm voices replaced quiet conversation. Holographic displays expanded across the chamber. Every officer moved with flawless precision, as though they had rehearsed this exact moment for centuries. No panic. No confusion. Only discipline. Admiral Reyes walked to the Central Command platform. Fleet status. A young officer answered immediately. All defense groups standing by. Orbital batteries online. Planetary shields at full capacity. Quantum veil stability at 99.8%. She nodded. Maintain the veil. Another officer looked up from his console. The incoming fleet has not detected Earth's exact position. They're scanning the surrounding sector. They know something is here, but they don't know what. I stepped beside the tactical display. 300 Federation warships drifted through the darkness beyond the veil. Modern battleships, heavy cruisers, carrier groups, to the current galaxy. It was an overwhelming force, to the hidden Terran fleet, It barely registered, Commander Vale stared at another display. They've sent 300 ships just to investigate? The Admiral answered without taking her eyes off the hologram. They're not investigating. They're hunting. The lead Federation flagship transmitted an open broadcast. Its message echoed throughout the command center. Unknown vessels. You have entered restricted Federation territory. Deactivate all cloaking technology immediately. Prepare to be boarded. One of the Terran officers smiled. They're giving orders. Several people quietly laughed, not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. The Federation had no idea who they were speaking to. The Admiral opened a secure communication channel. Captain Ward. Yes, Admiral? You've spent your life living under Federation rule. I have. Then today you'll witness the difference between power. She looked toward the hidden fleet surrounding Earth. And authority. Without raising her voice, she gave a single command. Deactivate the veil. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the stars themselves seemed to shatter. Darkness peeled away. From the solar system like a curtain being pulled aside. The empty void vanished. Earth appeared. Mars. Luna. The orbital rings. The defense platforms. The endless shipyards. And behind them. The fleet. Not thousands. Not tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of Terran warships ignited their engines at exactly the same moment. Blue light flooded the darkness. The Federation formation stopped moving. Their sensor arrays had finally seen the impossible. Open communications exploded with confused voices. Impossible. Where did those ships come from? Our scanners never detected. That's Earth. Earth still exists? The Federation flagship demanded immediate confirmation. Identify yourselves. The Admiral activated the main transmitter. Her calm voice crossed the void. This is Fleet Admiral Helena Reyes, Supreme Commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are trespassing inside the sovereign territory of Earth. A long silence followed. Then the Federation commander laughed. It was forced, uneasy. You expect us to believe humanity survived? The Admiral didn't answer. Instead, she nodded toward one of her officers. Show them. A single Terran battleship moved forward. No weapons. Fired. No dramatic maneuver. It simply accelerated. In less than 2 seconds, it crossed a distance that should have taken several minutes. Every Federation sensor immediately overloaded. Warning alarms echoed from their fleet. One Terran ship had just demonstrated technology centuries beyond anything the Federation possessed. The laughter disappeared. The Federation commander spoke again. This time his voice carried fear. What? Are you? Admiral Reyes answered without hesitation. We are humanity, and you should have left us alone. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. 300 Federation warships faced an empire they had believed dead for nearly 1,000 years. Across every Federation bridge, officers stared at impossible sensor readings. One report after another flooded their consoles. Energy output exceeds our highest known scale. Weapon signatures unknown. Shield architecture unrecognized. Hull composition cannot be identified. Their computers had no answers because nothing in their databases had ever seen technology like this. The Federation commander finally spoke. "This is Admiral Terran of the 4th Expeditionary Fleet. If you are truly human, then surrender immediately. You are operating an illegal military force." Several Terran officers exchanged amused glances. No one replied. The Federation commander continued. "Failure to comply will be considered an act of war." Admiral Reyes folded her hands behind her back. "Admiral Terran, I have reviewed your service record." The alien hesitated. "How do you know my record?" "We know the record of every Federation admiral. We've been watching." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Terran's face. "That is impossible. For 987 years, you believed humanity had vanished. We allowed you to believe that. We watched every election, every war, every alliance, every betrayal. We watched civilizations rise. We watched civilizations fall. And through it all," her voice became colder. Double quotes. "We waited." Terran's confidence was fading. "What do you want?" The Admiral answered without emotion. "The truth. The truth your government buried. The truth your people were never allowed to hear." A secure transmission left the flagship. Not toward Terran alone. Toward every Federation vessel. Toward every military relay. Toward every civilian communications network connected to the expedition. Thousands of classified files began downloading simultaneously. Operation Final Eclipse. Council. Assassination orders. Military invasion plans. Names. Dates. Authorizations. Video recordings. Every secret hidden for nearly a millennium. Federation officers stared at their screens in disbelief. One captain removed his headset. "This can't be real," another whispered. "They classified everything. They lied to us." Confused voices erupted across the open channels. Ships began contacting one another instead of following commands. Formation, discipline, started breaking apart. Terran shouted into his microphone. "Ignore those transmissions. They are fabricated." But nobody sounded convinced anymore. Admiral Reyes quietly watched the chaos unfold. "You built your civilization on a lie. Truth as a way of surviving." Suddenly another officer stood from his station. "Admiral, long-range hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts." "How many?" The officer looked stunned. "Over 2,000. The holographic map expanded. Blue symbols representing Terran forces surrounded Earth. Then hundreds. No. Thousands of red symbols appeared beyond Federation space. Commander Vale frowned. "More Federation fleets?" The sensor officer shook his head. "No. Different identification codes." Another officer enlarged the tactical display. Every major power in the galaxy had arrived. The Dravian Empire, the Oran Collective. The Valoran Dominion. The Hesk Republic. Independent alliances, mercenary coalitions, observers. Entire civilizations had detected the impossible energy surge created when Earth revealed itself. They had all come to witness whatever happened next. For the first time in nearly 1,000 years, the entire galaxy was watching humanity again. No one spoke. Across thousands of ships, billions of eyes were fixed on a single blue world that history had declared dead. Earth. The name spread through open communications faster than light. Earth still exists. The humans survived. Impossible. It has to be a trick. Within minutes, emergency meetings began aboard every flagship surrounding the solar system. Military analysts searched ancient databases. Historians reopened forgotten archives. Artificial intelligences compared old records against the files humanity had just released. Every calculation reached the same conclusion. The documents were authentic. The Federation had lied. For nearly 1,000 years, the silence was finally broken by Admiral Terran. His voice had lost its confidence. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Reyes answered without hesitation. "Justice." Terran looked relieved. "Then we can negotiate. We can discuss reparations. We can restore diplomatic relations. We can—" "You misunderstand." Her calm voice stopped him. "We are not asking." The words echoed across every open channel. Every captain, every soldier, every civilian listening throughout the galaxy heard them. "We spent 987 years rebuilding our civilization. We spent 987 years preparing for the day the truth returned. We did not build this fleet to threaten the galaxy. We built it so that no one would ever threaten humanity again." The tactical display suddenly flashed red. A Terran sensor officer looked up. "Admiral, several Federation ships are charging their main weapons." Terran immediately turned toward one of his officers. "I gave no such order." The reply came seconds later. "Not your ships, sir." A different formation broke away from the Federation fleet. Their hulls carried black insignias instead of Federation colors. Commander Vale narrowed his eyes. "Who are they?" The Terran intelligence officer answered. "The Directorate. The same organization that planned Operation Final Eclipse. They survived. They've been operating inside the Federation government for centuries." Another transmission interrupted the silence. A harsh voice filled every channel. "We should have finished the job 1,000 years ago. Our ancestors failed. We will not." Without another warning, 100 Directorate warships opened fire. Brilliant streams of plasma crossed the darkness. Their target was not the Terran fleet. It was Earth itself. The entire galaxy watched as hundreds of planet-killing weapons raced toward the human homeworld. Not a single Terran ship moved. Not one. Commander Vale looked at Admiral Reyes. "Shouldn't we intercept them?" She calmly folded her hands behind her back. "No. Watch." The first wave reached Earth's orbit. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then space itself rippled. A transparent sphere expanded around the planet. Every plasma beam struck the invisible barrier. Not one weapon passed through. The energy simply vanished, absorbed, without leaving so much as a ripple on Earth's atmosphere. The Directorate fired again, then again. Thousands of missiles, particle lances, graviton torpedoes, weapons powerful enough to erase continents. Every attack disappeared against the shield, as though it had never existed. Silence spread across the battlefield. The attackers had thrown everything they possessed. Earth hadn't even noticed. Admiral Reyes looked toward the terrified enemy fleet. Her expression never changed. "My turn." She raised one finger. "Disable them." No dramatic speeches. No anger. Just two quiet words. Across the hidden Terran fleet, hundreds of thousands of warships came alive simultaneously. Across the battlefield, blue lights ignited one after another, until the darkness itself seemed to glow. Every Terran ship moved in perfect synchronization. No collisions. No hesitation. No wasted motion. The Directorate fleet immediately changed formation. All ships opened fire. Thousands of weapons erupted at once. Plasma. Rail cannons, antimatter missiles, graviton, beams. The empty space between the two fleets became a wall of destruction. The Terran formation never slowed. A shimmering field surrounded every human vessel. Enemy fire struck the shields and simply disappeared, not deflected, not absorbed. Erased. The distance closed rapidly. The Directorate launched a second barrage. Nothing. A third. Nothing. Panic spread across their communications. Our weapons aren't penetrating. Target locks are failing. We can't break their shields. Admiral Reyes remained silent. She watched the battlefield with the calm expression of someone observing a training exercise. The first Terran battleship finally fired. There was no brilliant beam. No massive explosion. Just a pulse of pale blue light. It crossed the battlefield almost instantly. One Directorate cruiser stopped moving. Its weapons powered down. Its engines shut off. Its shields vanished. Every system aboard the ship went completely dark. Intact. Undamaged. Completely disabled. A second pulse. Another warship drifted silently through space. Then another and another within seconds. Dozens of enemy ships had become lifeless metal shells. Commander Vale stared at the tactical display. They're not destroying them. The weapons officer nodded in disbelief. They're shutting them down. The Directorate commander shouted across the open channel. What are you doing? Admiral Reyes answered calmly. Exactly what I said. We're disabling you. The commander laughed nervously. You expect mercy after what happened 1,000 years ago? The Admiral's voice remained steady. Mercy is not weakness. It is a choice. The remaining Directorate ships turned to retreat. Multiple hyperspace drives charging, a Terran officer reported. They're attempting to escape. Reyes nodded once. Do not allow it. Before a single enemy ship could enter hyperspace, hundreds of small Terran craft accelerated from the main fleet. They surrounded the fleeing vessels in seconds. A wave of blue light swept across the battlefield. Every hyperspace drive shut down instantly. The Directorate fleet was trapped. For the first time in nearly 1,000 years, the hunters had become the hunted. The battlefield fell silent once more. More than 100 Directorate warships floated helplessly in space. Not one had been destroyed. Not one Terran ship had suffered visible damage. Across the observation fleets, disbelief turned into fear. The Dravian commander whispered, they defeated an entire assault fleet, without killing anyone. The Oran Collective transmitted a single question across the open diplomatic channel. Why? Admiral Reyes answered for everyone to hear. Because humanity remembers the cost of war. We will fight when we must, but we will never become what our enemies believed us to be. The word spread across every listening ship. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy wasn't seeing humanity as monsters. It was seeing discipline. Honor. Restraint. Then the silence shattered. A warning echoed across every Terran command station. Unknown hyperspace event detected. The tactical display flashed crimson. The sensor officer's face lost all color. Admiral, I'm detecting a hyperspace signature unlike anything we've ever recorded. Another officer checked the readings. It isn't Federation technology. It isn't Directorate technology. It doesn't match any known civilization. Space behind the disabled Directorate fleet began to twist. Stars bent inward. Light itself curved into a massive black circle. Every fleet backed away instinctively. The phenomenon continued growing. 10 kilometers, 20, 50, 100. No one had ever witnessed anything like it. Then something emerged. It wasn't a ship. It was far too large. An enormous black structure slowly crossed the edge of the portal. Its surface was covered with symbols older than any known language. No engines. No visible weapons. Yet every sensor aboard every fleet screamed the same warning. Unknown threat level. Beyond calculation. Silence spread across the battlefield. Even threat level. Beyond calculation. Silence spread across the battlefield. Even threat battlefield. Admiral Reyes stared at the object for several seconds. Commander Vale spoke quietly. "What is that?" The Admiral answered in a voice that had suddenly become very serious. "It can't be." One of the oldest officers on the bridge slowly stood. His hands were shaking. "I've seen those symbols before." Everyone looked toward him. He swallowed hard. "They're from the oldest classified records on Earth. The records everyone believed were only legends." The room became completely silent. He looked at the massive object emerging from the darkness. They're the builders. No one asked who the builders were, because every human on the bridge had already realized one terrifying fact. Whatever had erased entire civilizations from history had finally returned. The massive structure continued emerging from the black portal. No engines. No exhaust. No detectable source of propulsion. It simply moved. Deliberately. As if the laws of physics had decided not to apply. Every sensor aboard every fleet tried to identify it. Every attempt failed. Size. Unknown. Mass. Unknown. Energy. Output. Unknown. Origin. Unknown. The only thing every scanner agreed on was a single warning. Threat level. Absolute. No one spoke. Across the galaxy's combined fleets, billions watched in complete silence. The Directorate commander, moments earlier shouting threats, now sounded terrified. What is that?" No one answered him. Admiral Reyes stepped closer to the tactical display. Archive access. A holographic interface appeared. She entered an authorization code. Several warning messages flashed across the screen. Omega clearance. Required. Identity. Confirmed. The file opened. A single image appeared. The same symbols covering the enormous structure. Commander Vale looked at the title. The Builders. Reyes nodded slowly. They existed long before the first known civilization. They crossed the stars before humanity discovered fire. They built the ancient gateway network. They seeded thousands of worlds with life. And then she stopped. They disappeared. Another officer looked up. "I thought they were only a legend." So did almost everyone. The tactical officer interrupted. "The object is transmitting. Audio only. Play it." A deep voice echoed across every ship and every fleet. It did not sound human. It did not sound alien. It sounded ancient. Civilizations identified. Evaluation commencing. Every officer looked at one another. The voice continued. "Cycle complete. 1,000 standard years have passed. assessing dominant species. A beam of pale white light swept across the surrounding fleets. It passed over the Federation, then the Directorate. Then every observing civilization. Finally it stopped on Earth. The voice spoke again. Humanity detected. A pause followed, long enough for every heartbeat to become unbearable. Then the impossible happened. The gigantic structure powered down its weapons. Its shields disappeared. Its bow slowly lowered toward Earth. The oldest officer on the bridge whispered. It bowed. The ancient voice echoed once more. Recognition confirmed. Successor civilization acknowledged. No one understood. Commander Vale looked at Admiral Reyes. What does that mean? Before she could answer, the voice spoke one final sentence, a sentence that froze every soul listening. Inheritance protocol begins now. The moment those words echoed, across space, every system aboard every ship went dark. Weapons, shields, engines, communications, everything. The only vessels that remained fully operational were the Terran ships. Across the surrounding fleets, confusion erupted. We've lost propulsion. Our reactors aren't responding. Navigation is offline. Panic spread from bridge to bridge. Meanwhile, every display inside the Terran flagship lit up with symbols no human officer had ever seen before. Streams of ancient text flowed across the holographic screens. An unfamiliar voice spoke only inside the Terran. Command network. Genetic match confirmed. Lineage verified. Authority transferred. A glowing sphere of light formed in the center of the bridge. It slowly unfolded into a three-dimensional star. Map. No one had activated it. No one could. The map extended far beyond the borders of known space. Thousands of star systems appeared, then millions, entire regions of the galaxy that had never existed on any chart. Commander Vale stared in disbelief. Those systems, their outside explored space. The oldest officer stepped closer. They aren't unexplored. He looked at the map with trembling hands. They've been hidden. The ancient voice continued. Builder archive released. One by one, impossible discoveries filled the displays. Blueprints. Energy systems. Medical technologies. Terraforming methods. Matter construction. Stellar engineering. Knowledge collected across millions of years. The bridge remained completely silent. No one could even begin to understand what they were seeing. Then another message appeared. Unlike the others, this one was written in perfect English. To humanity. You were never our creation. Every human on the bridge froze. The next sentence appeared. You were our chosen successors. Commander Vale whispered, successors to them? Before anyone could answer, the ancient voice returned. This time it carried something none of them expected. Urgency. Warning. Builder's civilization terminated. Every display changed. The peaceful star map vanished. It was replaced by countless destroyed worlds, dead stars, broken megastructures, entire galaxies burning. The voice spoke again. Enemy returning. Silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Then the final line appeared across every screen. Prepare humanity. The last war has begun. Every display on the bridge went black. For 3 long seconds there was nothing. Then a single image appeared. Not a map. Not a warning. A recording. The timestamp read 3,417,882 years before present. The bridge remained silent. The recording began. Thousands of builder ships filled the darkness, each one larger than a planet. They surrounded a brilliant blue star. For a brief moment, everything looked peaceful. Then the star disappeared. It wasn't destroyed. It was consumed. A shadow spread across space like living darkness. Where it passed, stars simply vanished. Planets crumbled into dust without exploding. Entire fleets dissolved into nothing. No fire. No sound. Only absence. Commander Vale whispered, "What kind of weapon does that?" The oldest officer slowly shook his head. "That's not a weapon." The recording continued. Builder fleets opened fire. Beams brighter than suns crossed the void. Reality itself twisted under their power. The shadow never slowed. Every attack vanished before reaching it. One builder world after another disappeared. Civilizations, millions of years older than humanity, ceased to exist within minutes. The recording ended. The bridge was completely silent. The ancient voice returned. Enemy designation unavailable. Builder language contains no word capable of describing the threat. Another sentence appeared. Probability of galactic extinction without intervention. The number calculated for several seconds. Then it stopped. 100%. No one spoke. Not even Admiral Reyes, for the first time since I had met her, saw fear in her eyes. An alarm suddenly interrupted the silence. The sensor officer looked up. His face turned white. "Admiral, the portal. It's opening again." Everyone turned toward the forward display. The black gateway behind the builder vessel was expanding. Slowly. Relentlessly. Its diameter doubled, then tripled. The stars around it began disappearing one by one. "Not hidden. Gone. The oldest officer whispered a single sentence. "They're already here." Then something moved inside the darkness. At first it looked like another shadow, then dozens. Then hundreds. Shapes without form, larger than moons, moving silently toward the edge of the portal. The ancient builder voice spoke one final time. For the first time. It sounded afraid. "Humanity." A brief pause followed. "Defend the future." The first shadow crossed the edge of the portal. Every sensor in the system failed at the same instant. Screens filled with static. Targeting systems shut themselves down. Artificial intelligences stopped responding. One by one, warning lights spread across every fleet. The shadow had no clear shape. Looking directly at it was impossible. Its outline changed every second as though reality itself could not decide what it was seeing. The tactical officer whispered, "I can't lock onto it." Another officer tried visual magnification. The image immediately corrupted. "It's interfering with light." The oldest officer slowly stepped backward. "They don't exist the way we do." The ancient builder voice echoed through every Terran ship. "Conventional weapons ineffective." A second shadow emerged, then a third. The portal continued expanding. The surrounding fleets began retreating. Federation ships abandoned formation. Observer fleets accelerated away from the solar system. Even the Directorate forgot the battle they had started. Survival had become the only objective. Admiral Reyes remained perfectly still. Status of the defense fleet: all combat groups ready. Planetary shields at maximum. Orbital batteries online. She nodded once. Open a channel to every fleet. Seconds later, every surviving civilization heard her voice. You came here expecting to witness the return of humanity? She looked toward the growing darkness. Instead, you have witnessed the return of something far worse. No one interrupted. The war that destroyed the builders has reached our galaxy. If we fight alone, double quotes, we all die. The words carried across thousands of ships. No politics. No accusations. Only truth. Then something unexpected happened. The Dravian flagship moved forward. Its commander transmitted a single sentence. The Dravian Empire stands with Earth. Moments later, another transmission arrived. The Oran Collective stands with humanity. Then another. The Valoran Dominion commits all available forces. The Hesk Republic joins the defense. One after another. Former rivals. Former enemies. Independent worlds. Mercenary fleets. Every civilization remaining in the solar system moved into formation beside the Terran fleet. Commander Vale smiled for the first time since arriving at Earth. They're choosing us. Admiral Reyes slowly shook her head. No, they're choosing survival. She looked through the viewport as countless allied ships formed a defensive wall around the solar system. For the first time in history, the galaxy was no longer divided. It stood together, waiting, watching, as the endless darkness continued to emerge from the portal. The darkness stopped. For several long seconds, nothing moved. The shadows remained, motionless beyond the portal, as if they were studying us. Then the ancient builder vessel transmitted a single warning. They are learning. Every commander aboard every fleet received the same message. No one understood what it meant until the first shadow changed. Its shape became sharper, more defined, almost human. The tactical officer stared at his display. It's adapting. Another shadow transformed. Then another. Within moments, the impossible. Creatures had begun copying the silhouettes of the ships facing them. Their outlines shifted until they resembled Terran battleships. Then Federation cruisers. Then Dravian carriers. Commander Vale whispered, "They're studying us." The builder voice answered immediately, "They become what they consume." Silence filled the bridge. Admiral Reyes looked toward the tactical display. "How long before they're fully adapted?" The builder intelligence replied. "Estimated time." A brief pause followed. 8 minutes. Every officer understood the meaning. If the enemy completed its adaptation, humanity would lose the greatest advantage it possessed. The admiral spoke without raising her voice. "All fleets, this is your only warning. When the battle begins, do not hesitate." Across the Allied armada, millions of soldiers prepared for combat. Weapons charged. Shields reached maximum power. Strike craft launched from carriers. Medical ships moved behind the battle line. No one celebrated. No one shouted. Everyone knew what was at stake. Earth. The galaxy. Every future civilization. The portal suddenly shook. The first shadow accelerated, then the second, then thousands more. The invasion had begun. Admiral Reyes raised her hand. The entire Terran fleet waited. She lowered it. Fire? The stars disappeared behind the light of 1,000,000 human weapons. Light flooded the battlefield. 1,000,000 Terran weapons fired in perfect synchronization. The darkness vanished beneath an ocean of energy. For a single heartbeat, it looked as though the attack had worked. Then the light faded. The shadows were still coming. Not one had been destroyed. Not one had even slowed. A wave of silence swept across the allied fleets. The builder intelligence spoke immediately. Expected outcome. Physical destruction impossible. Commander Vale stared at the display. Then how do we stop them? For the first time, the builder intelligence hesitated. Unknown. Every bridge fell silent. Humanity possessed the greatest fleet ever assembled. The builders possessed knowledge gathered across millions of years. Neither had an answer. The leading shadow reached the edge of the age of the age of the yes. Battlefield. It touched the abandoned hull of a disabled Directorate cruiser. The ship disappeared, not exploded, not crushed. Simply erased. The space it had occupied became empty. No wreckage. No debris. No energy release. Nothing. A second shadow passed through another vessel. It vanished as well. The enemy wasn't destroying matter. It was removing it from existence. Fear spread across every allied fleet. The tactical officer whispered, "We can't let them reach Earth." Admiral Reyes remained calm. "No, we can't." She looked toward the builder intelligence. "There has to be something you haven't told us." Several seconds passed. Then another hidden archive unlocked. A single sentence appeared. Final protocol. The oldest officer slowly read the text. "Only the chosen successor may activate the Heart of Soul." Commander Vale frowned. "The Heart of Soul?" The builder intelligence answered. "Primary builder defense system. Located within the core of Earth's star." Every person on the bridge stared in disbelief. "The sun?" "Affirmative." Another line appeared. "Activation probability." The calculation paused. Then completed. Human success probability. 0. 3%. The room became silent. Commander Vale looked at Admiral Reyes. "If we fail," she finished the sentence, "everything ends." Without another word, she turned toward me. "Captain Ward." "Yes, Admiral. The future of every civilization now depends on one mission." She handed me a small crystal, unlike any technology I had ever seen. It glowed with a soft golden light. "The Heart of Soul will only respond to a living human." She closed my hand around the crystal. "You have to reach the sun." Outside the viewport, the shadows continued advancing, and for the first time since humanity returned, the fate of the galaxy rested in the hands of a single Terran captain. Captain Ward gripped the glowing crystal tightly. It felt warm. Almost alive. The builder intelligence spoke once more. "Authorization key accepted. Route to the Heart of Soul unlocked." A new path appeared on the holographic map. It led straight through the battlefield. Toward the sun. Between us and our destination, thousands of shadows continued pouring from the portal. Commander Vale looked at the tactical display. "You'll never make it through that," Admiral Reyes answered before I could. "He won't be alone." She activated the fleet-wide command channel. "Operation Dawn begins now." Instantly, hundreds of Terran warships broke formation. Instead of defending Earth, they accelerated toward the enemy, not to attack. To create a corridor. One by one, they placed themselves directly in the path of the advancing shadows. The first Terran battleship transmitted a calm message. Corridor 1 established. Seconds later, the lead shadow reached them. The battleship vanished. No explosion. No distress call. Just gone. The next ship moved into its place. Corridor holding. It disappeared as well. Another ship replaced it. Then another. Then another. Commander Vale watched in disbelief. They're sacrificing themselves. Admiral Reyes never looked away from the display. They volunteered centuries ago. The corridor slowly extended toward the sun. Every kilometer forward cost another Terran warship. Every captain knew exactly what would happen. Not one turned away. The communications network remained calm. Corridor 2 secure. Corridor 3 advancing. Continue forward. No fear. No hesitation. Only duty. I looked at Admiral Reyes. There has to be another way. She finally met my eyes. There isn't. For nearly 1,000 years, every officer in this fleet has trained for one possibility. She looked toward the burning sun. That humanity might one day have to save every civilization. A sleek black vessel detached from the flagship. Its engines glowed with brilliant white light. The builder intelligence immediately recognized it. Prototype vessel identified. Designation, Phoenix 1. Probability of reaching Sol increased to 12%. 12%. It wasn't much. But it was better than 0. The boarding hatch opened. Admiral Reyes handed me the crystal. When you reach the heart of Sol. She paused. Double quotes. Trust humanity. I frowned. What does that mean? She smiled faintly. I think you're about to find out. I stepped aboard Phoenix 1. The cockpit sealed automatically. Every control surface illuminated. The ship recognized the crystal in my hand. A calm voice echoed through the cabin. Captain Elias Ward confirmed. Welcome, commander of the final expedition. The engines ignited. Outside the canopy, the corridor of sacrifice stretched all the way toward the sun. Terran warships continued, giving their existence. One after another. To keep that path open. I took a deep breath, placed my hand on the flight controls, and accelerated toward the star that had given birth to humanity. Phoenix 1 accelerated faster than anything I had ever flown. Stars stretched into silver lines. Warning alarms remained silent. The ship moved with impossible precision, weaving through the corridor opened by the Terran fleet. Ahead of me, another battleship disappeared into the advancing darkness. Its final transmission echoed across the command network. Corridor holding. No scream. No panic. Only resolve. Another ship immediately took its place. The path remained open. The sun grew larger with every passing second. Behind me, the combined fleets continued fighting to slow the endless tide pouring from the portal. No one called for help. Everyone understood their mission. Buy time. Nothing else mattered. The builder intelligence spoke through the cockpit. Enemy adapting. The tactical display changed. Several shadows had begun taking the shape of Terran warships. Their movements were becoming more organized. They're learning our tactics, I said. Confirmed. How long before they learn everything? A brief pause followed. Estimated time, 4 minutes. I pushed the controls forward. Phoenix 1 accelerated again. The force pressed me into the seat. The sun now filled half the cockpit. It wasn't just a star anymore. As I approached, I saw enormous metallic structures surrounding it. Ring after ring circled the star, each one larger than a planet. Ancient builder machinery, hidden inside the solar system for millions of years. No telescope had ever seen them. No civilization had ever discovered them. The builder intelligence spoke. Heart of soul located. The rings slowly rotated. One section opened. A corridor of golden light appeared, leading directly into the sun. Every survival instinct the first possessed screamed that flying into a star was suicide. The builder intelligence remained calm. Phoenix 1 protected. Proceed. I tightened my grip on the controls. There goes every flight manual ever written. Phoenix 1 entered the corridor. The moment we crossed the boundary, the impossible happened. The fire disappeared. The heat vanished. Inside the sun was not an ocean of plasma. It was a hollow sphere. An entire world hidden within the heart of the star. Cities stretched across the inner surface. Towering structures reached toward a glowing sphere suspended at the center. Everything was silent. Everything was abandoned. Millions of years had passed since anyone had walked those streets. The builder intelligence lowered its voice. Welcome. A long pause followed. To the heart of soul. Phoenix 1 descended slowly through the silent city. Towering structures surrounded me in every direction. Their surfaces shimmered like liquid metal. Not a single light was active. Not a single machine moved. It felt less like an abandoned city and more like it was waiting. The builder intelligence guided the ship toward the glowing sphere suspended at the center of the hollow star. Primary control core ahead. As Phoenix 1 approached, thousands of dormant machines suddenly came to life. Golden lights spread across the city, one after another, like stars, awakening after an endless night. The crystal in my hand began glowing brighter. Its light matched the city perfectly. The moment the ship landed, the hatch opened by itself. I stepped onto the metallic surface. The entire city reacted. Every light brightened. The builder intelligence spoke softly. Successor. Recognized. A bridge formed beneath my feet. It stretched toward the floating sphere. I walked alone. Every step echoed through the silent city. When I reached the center, the crystal lifted from my hand without my touch. It floated toward the sphere. The two lights touched. The entire sun trembled. Far above, enormous rings surrounding the star began rotating. Across the battlefield outside, every fleet watched the solar system change. The sun became brighter. Not dangerously bright, powerfully bright. Golden streams of energy spread across space. The builder voice echoed throughout the system. Heart of soul activated. Inside the ancient city, a new hologram appeared before me. It showed Earth, then the surrounding fleets. Then the endless darkness pouring from the portal. Finally, it showed me. The builder intelligence spoke in perfect English. Captain Elias Ward. Humanity has reached the final test. A single question appeared in glowing letters before me. Will humanity accept the inheritance? Below it, only two choices remained. YESNO. I looked at the glowing words. There was no hesitation. I reached forward. My hand touched yes. The moment my fingers made contact, the entire city came alive. The ground beneath my feet, vibrated. Towering structures lit up one after another until the whole hidden world inside the sun shone brighter than daylight. The builder intelligence spoke. Inheritance accepted. Final authorization confirmed. The floating sphere unfolded like a flower of light. Inside, it was not a weapon, not a machine. It was a single strand of golden energy. It slowly drifted toward me. Instinctively, I reached out. The light touched my hand. Pain exploded through my body. Every memory I had ever lived flashed before my eyes. Then, they were no longer my memories. I saw the builders crossing empty galaxies. I saw them creating gateways between distant stars. I saw them lifting dying worlds back to life. I saw them refusing to conquer weaker civilizations, choosing instead to guide them from the shadows. Then I saw the war. A darkness without beginning. Without end. It did not hate. It did not think. It simply erased. World after world vanished. Builder fleets fought until the last ship fell. In their final days, they searched millions of civilizations for a worthy successor. Most failed. Some destroyed themselves. Some chose power over compassion. Then they found humanity. A young species. Violent. Stubborn. Compassionate. Capable of terrible destruction, yet always willing to sacrifice everything for those they loved. Builders made their choice, not because humans were the strongest, but because humans always stood back up after falling. The vision ended. I found myself standing once again inside the heart of Soul. The builder intelligence spoke one last time. The inheritance was never our technology. A pause followed. It was our responsibility. Outside the sun, the rings surrounding the star accelerated. Golden energy spread across the solar system. Every Terran ship began receiving impossible amounts of power. Shields strengthened. Weapons evolved. Engines surpassed every known physical limit. Across the Allied fleets, damaged ships repaired themselves in seconds. Destroyed satellites rebuilt their own structures. Even wounded soldiers felt their injuries. Disappeared. Commander Vale watched the impossible unfold from the bridge of the flagship. Admiral, the entire fleet is changing. Admiral Reyes smiled for the first time since the battle had begun. I know, the builder voice echoed across every Terran vessel. Humanity, the future is now yours. At that exact moment, every Terran ship received the same transmission, not from the builder intelligence. From Earth. Admiral Reyes appeared on every bridge, every cockpit, every command center. She looked at the countless human crews who had trained for this day without ever knowing if it would come. My fellow Terrans, for nearly 1,000 years we hid, we rebuilt, we endured, we remembered. We did not survive because we were the strongest. We survived because we never stopped protecting each other. She looked toward the advancing darkness. Today, humanity stands between extinction and every child who has yet to be born. Her voice remained calm. If this is our final battle, then let history remember one truth. Humanity never surrendered. The transmission ended. Silence lasted only a heartbeat. Then every Terran captain acknowledged the order. For Earth. For humanity, for the future. Across the battlefield, the transformed Terran fleet accelerated. Golden light surrounded every vessel. The enemy's shadows rushed forward. This time, humanity met them head-on. The first shadow reached a Terran. Battleship. Instead of disappearing, the battleship remained. Its new shields held. Golden energy rippled across its hull. For the first time, the darkness stopped. The tactical officer shouted, "Direct contact successful." It can't erase the ships anymore. Cheers erupted across the Allied fleets. The impossible enemy had finally met something it could not simply erase. Admiral Reyes raised her hand. All fleets, advance. Millions of engines ignited together. Human, dr avian, oran, v-lore, esk, former. Enemies. New allies. An entire galaxy moved as one. The greatest fleet ever assembled, charged into the darkness. And for the first time in millions of years, the enemy began to retreat. The retreat lasted only seconds. Then the darkness stopped. The countless stopped. The countless shadows merged together. Thousands became hundreds. Hundreds became dozens. Dozens became one. A single colossal figure emerged from the center of the portal. It towered over entire fleets. Its surface reflected no light. Stars vanished behind. Its silhouette. V sensor immediately failed again. The builder intelligence spoke with unmistakable urgency. Primary entity identified. Source intelligence. Origin of the extinction cycle. The tactical display attempted to calculate its size. The result never appeared. Commander Vale whispered, "That's not a ship." "No," Admiral Reyes replied. "It never was." The colossal being looked toward Earth. Not with eyes, not with weapons, simply with its presence. Then every human in the solar system heard the same voice inside their mind. Not through speakers, not through communications, inside their thoughts. "You are not the builders. You cannot stop what cannot end." Fear spread across the allied fleets. Some officers dropped to their knees. Others clutched their heads in pain. The voice continued. "Every civilization resists. Every civilization falls. I stood within the heart of Soul, surrounded by golden light." The ancient builder intelligence spoke softly. "Captain Ward, it is speaking to your mind. I know. Do not answer with fear." I looked toward the glowing sphere at the center of the chamber. "Then how do I answer?" The builder intelligence paused, long enough that I wondered if it had finally run out of answers. Then it spoke. "Answer as a human." I closed my eyes. I thought about Earth. About the crews who had sacrificed themselves to open the path to the sun. About every civilization now fighting beside humanity. About everyone who still believed tomorrow was worth protecting. Then I opened my eyes without using a console, without touching a transmitter. I answered, "We're not the builders." A moment of silence followed. "You're right. We're something they could never be. We're human. We fall, we fail, we make mistakes. But every single time, we get back up." Across the battlefield, every Terran ship began shining even brighter. The allied fleets followed. One by one, the light spread from ship to ship until the darkness faced not one civilization, but an entire galaxy that had chosen to stand together. For the first time since the extinction cycle began millions of years ago, the enemy was no longer facing isolated worlds. It was facing united humanity. And humanity had never lost a battle after deciding that someone else was worth fighting for. The colossal entity remained motionless. For the first time since it had entered the galaxy. It hesitated. The builder intelligence immediately detected the change. Primary entity response altered. Uncertainty detected. Commander Vale stared at the tactical display. "You can feel uncertainty?" The builder intelligence answered, "Negative. It is calculating." The darkness had faced countless civilizations. Every one of them had fought alone. Every one of them had eventually broken. This time was different. No fleet had retreated. No world had surrendered. An entire galaxy stood together behind humanity. The voice echoed through every mind once again. Hope changes nothing, I answered immediately. No, it changes everything. The heart of soul responded. Golden light surged through the ancient city. The enormous rings surrounding the sun accelerated beyond visible speed. Across the battlefield, every allied vessel became part of a single network. Human technology. Builder technology. Alien technology. They were no longer separate. They operated as one. For the first time in history, the galaxy fought as a single civilization. The colossal entity moved. It charged directly toward Earth. Millions of ships intercepted it. Golden beams crossed the darkness. This time the attacks did not disappear. The light struck the entity's surface. Tiny cracks appeared. The tactical officers shouted, "We damaged it." Cheers erupted across every fleet. The impossible had become possible. The entity roared, not with sound. With gravity. Entire sectors of space rippled outward. Hundreds of allied ships were thrown aside, but none were erased. Their shields held, their formations reformed. They attacked again, and again. Every second, the cracks spread farther across the entity's surface. The darkness was losing. For the first time in millions of years, it understood what the builders never had. Humanity's greatest weapon was never its ships, never its technology, never its armies. It was the simple decision, to stand together until the very end. The cracks spread across the entity like rivers of golden light. Each strike from the allied fleets widened them. For the first time in millions of years, the impossible enemy was taking damage. Yet it did not retreat. Instead, it raised a wall of darkness around itself. Every crack began closing. Commander Vale's face fell. It's healing. The builder intelligence confirmed it. Self-restoration accelerating. The tactical display projected a new calculation. Probability of victory, 4.8%. Silence returned to every bridge. Admiral Reyes looked toward the heart of soul. Captain Ward, there has to be one final command. Inside the ancient city, the golden sphere reacted. A hidden chamber opened beneath it. At its center rested a single device. It was no larger than my hand. Simple. Unmarked. The builder intelligence spoke quietly. Final protocol. I picked it up. What is it? For several seconds there was no answer. Then, the last gift of the builders. A hologram appeared. It showed the colossal entity. Then the device. Then. The sun. Understanding hit me like a physical blow. No. The builder intelligence remained silent. I looked at the device again. This will overload the heart of soul. Affirmative. The sun will become a weapon. Affirmative. And afterward. The answer came immediately. The heart of soul will cease to exist permanently. I closed my eyes. Humanity would survive, the galaxy would survive, but the greatest gift the builders had left us would be gone forever. No second chance. No backup plan. Only one shot. Admiral Reyes' voice came through the com. Elias, whatever you choose, humanity will stand with you. I looked at Earth on the holographic display, the blue world where our story had begun, the home we had almost lost forever. Then I looked beyond it. Thousands of allied ships, millions of people, children on worlds I would never visit, civilizations that finally had a future. I smiled and whispered the words every Terran understood. For humanity. Then I reached toward the final protocol. I placed the final protocol into the center of the heart of soul. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ancient city shook. Every tower illuminated with blinding golden light. The enormous rings surrounding the sun accelerated until they disappeared from sight. The builder intelligence spoke for the final time. Its voice was calm. Almost proud. Successor confirmed. Mission complete. Goodbye, humanity. The connection ended. Forever. A brilliant beam erupted from the center of the sun. It didn't burn. It didn't explode. Expanded. A wave of pure golden light swept across the solar system. Then beyond it. Every allied ship passed through the wave, unharmed. Every living being felt only warmth, hope. Life. The colossal entity faced the wave. For the first time. It tried to escape. It was too late. The golden light reached the darkness. The cracks covering its body burst open. Light poured through them. The entity let out a sound that no living mind could ever truly understand. Not pain. Not anger. The sound of something ancient. Coming to an end. One by one, the shadows surrounding it dissolved into light. The portal behind them collapsed. The darkness that had consumed civilizations for millions of years faded into nothing. Then silence. Complete silence. The tactical displays across every fleet searched desperately for another target. There were none. The extinction cycle was over. Commander Vale whispered, "We did it." Across thousands of ships, cheers erupted. Human crews embraced one another. Alien captains saluted. Earth, some cried openly, others simply stared at the stars. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy had a future. The sun slowly returned to its normal glow. The enormous builder rings crumbled into golden dust. The heart of soul was gone, its final purpose fulfilled. Phoenix 1 carried me safely back toward Earth. As I approached the planet, every ship in the Allied fleet turned to face us. Not in challenge. In respect. Millions of lights flashed across the darkness. A silent salute. Not to me. To humanity. Weeks later, representatives from every surviving civilization gathered above Earth. No one spoke of conquest. No one demanded power. Instead, a new agreement was signed. Not a federation. Not an empire. A union. A promise that no civilization would ever stand alone again. History books across the galaxy were rewritten. The lie of humanity's extinction was erased. Children would now learn a different story. That when the oldest darkness in existence returned. It was humanity that stood first. Humanity that refused to surrender. Humanity that united the stars. And humanity that gave every civilization another tomorrow. If you enjoyed this story and want more epic HFY adventures where humanity always surprises the galaxy, make sure to like this video, subscribe to HFY Stellar Vault, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next journey into the stars. Leave a comment and tell us your favorite moment from today's story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.